My friends, welcome to another episode of the Nuclear Heatwave Wrestling Podcast, brought to you by Sparks Mafia Sports Reports. I am, as always, Dr. Love, and no introduction needed, Sauce Bronson.
Yo. So we just started, and I'm just snacking on these Werther's original, obviously. Not sponsored at all.
Not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor at all, but I
Here,
just been eating
let me grab one of those from you. I wish I could.
Yeah, I got you. Let's see.
All right, here.
There you go.
Oh, I really wish I had them with me now. That would have been fun.
But I think, real quick before we get started, just want to send our thoughts and prayers to Papa Mafia. Grandma Mafia, passed away. So.
Yes. I'm very sorry for your loss. I'm very sorry. And
before we get into it, my one grandmother, I remember her a little bit. My dad's mom, I remember her bits and pieces, but my mom's mom, my Granny Billingsley, that woman to the day God called her home. She made it, about 88 years. Even then, by that time, she was eating grapes, Lord Ladoon cookies, and Coke 45. Yep. And then, even at that time, I'll say she did not play when it come to when it come to her drink. So she said at that time, she was like, the Lord bless me, 80 something years, but go ahead and try to take my drink away from me. You'll meet Jesus before I do.
That's something my mom's both my grandmas have passed away, and my mom's mom, similar. She's a sweet old lady, sweet woman, but she loved her college sports when it came to basketball and University of Kentucky.
Right.
And if you tried to change the channel, oh no. No, that was the wrong thing to do. So
speaking of sports, once again, this is not a sponsor. I didn't realize I had this in my cabinet, but I just needed something, a big glass of water, and
nice.
So this is 7-Eleven. They had these.
Very cool.
Once upon a time. So LCA. So LCA. It's like 5 years old now.
It's crazy to think, right? I'm obviously a massive Detroit Red Wings fan, and the season has started, and we are 0-1. So we got points in our first 3 games and 2 wins.
Which one
so,
would be like that?
Lions still have a chance. They still have a chance.
Listen.
Cricket.
Listen. Apollo Crews will be WWE Undisputed Champion before the Lions even comes close to sniffing a Super Bowl. So let's be honest with ourselves.
Apollo Creed will be the champion, and yes, I know Apollo Creed being dead. he can be champion before they're going to be champion.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
But enough about trash NFL teams. We're here to talk about wrestling. That's what y'all here for. So.
Yes. Yeah, and we had another pretty good week here, going kind of moving forward throughout the month of October. And we had some little things happen throughout the world of wrestling, and obviously everyone's still kind of like reeling in a good way because of the return of Bray Wyatt. And on SmackDown last week was his actual physical return to the ring. And when they announced that he was going to do this return, it was like, well, is it going to just kind of show up? Is it going to be a video vignette? But no, he came to the ring and he had a very powerful promo, which doesn't surprise me. Bray Wyatt always was allowed to do his own promos, hence why they were always much better than everyone else's promos that Vince McMahon wrote or whoever. Wrote.
You don't say.
You don't say. But it was a very powerful promo. Really could tell how much he missed wrestling, and the fans in general, or how much they fueled his return and fueled the fire base. Because near the end of before he left, there was plenty of reports about his mental health, and how everything was getting bogged down. And obviously with wrestlers, and it's a huge undertaking. It's a huge toll, especially if you're on the road. If you're a big major superstar, you're on the road 300 days out of the year. You're wrestling all the house shows, you're wrestling the shows, you're wrestling the pay-per-views, you're wrestling all the events, autograph signings, special events to promote the show. So you're always on the road, and that's your top wrestlers. But even like the ones that get more on TV, you're still always doing that, And the big thing to think about this too is wrestlers. They got to pay for all that. They got to pay for their hotels. They got to pay for their limos, like transportation, their cars. They got to do all that. They have to pay for their own insurance because wrestlers are technically independent contractors.
Yeah.
Now, look, I'm not sitting here saying John Cena's doing it or Roman Reigns, but pretty much if you're not the top guy, you're paying for all their stuff. So. And so I could see it taking a big toll on him, but seeing his promo, seeing how like he had a fire back under him, I can't wait to see what's going to end up happening. So, we talked a little bit last week about the Wyatt 6 possibly stable he's going to have, or, anything really. I think it's going to be well. I think it's going to go over really well. He's got his new gimmick. The mask gimmick that he showed off at the Extreme Rules, and we'll see. It looks like it's not going to be like a masked wrestler. You know what I'm saying? It's more like just a character.
Yeah.
And so I can't wait to see it. So it was a good promo. I was pleasantly surprised. And so yeah. Hey, get more to it and keep pushing forward. See what we got.
So people was talking about like I had some coworkers asking me about as far as Bray, like do they think as far as him crying sincere or not? And I think what they're doing, I told them I think this gimmick is going to be the kind of everything put together. Like you're going to have like the Buzzards version, him recruiting his new family, and by family, you might see Vin Diesel show up. And as far as and then he'll have the Eater of Worlds, which I figured would probably makes the most sense if he were to return as a specific character.
Mm-hmm.
I think Eater of Worlds is about as close as he's gonna get. And then he's got I think what's gonna happen is he's gonna deal with a split personality again, like he did with the Fiend. But basically it'll be between him and whatever he is with the mask on.
Yep.
Because you notice, like, as far as breaking down and showing his emotions, then all of a sudden the masked version of him comes on the screen and whatnot. So I think you're going to deal with another schizophrenic version of this character, but I think it's going to be kind of like the Eater of Worlds as a schizo.
Yep. I can see that. And again, it could work, like way back in the day, you remember Waylon Mercy, for Don Callis' character when he was in WWF. He basically was like a precursor to like the Buzzards, the family Wyatt from the Wyatt family. He literally was. He just didn't have the charisma at the time, or the fans were just not weren't buying it then, Right. This is also 96, or so it's not gonna, and his wrestling ability wasn't going to be there anyway. So, but yeah. So I'm hoping to see something, and the fans are going to be behind it. They are. So it's just I hope they don't push him to. I hope they don't push him to get a title. I hope he doesn't need one. No. He doesn't need one. So he doesn't need the title. Oh my gosh, that's funny. But So, looks like we got, we have Papa Mafia. Yeah. And I loved WCW Halloween Havoc back in the day. So did I. I watched that. I was a big WCW and ECW guy along with WWF. And don't worry, we're going to be talking about not only these NXT ones, but the past ones. Lots of cool anecdotes. And I know you're going to find fun. And, it's pretty fun. So.
Well, I was more of a WWE boy back in the day, but I remember, bits and pieces of Halloween Havoc. So, like I said, it's something we're going to get into it a little bit. Like for me, I was in and out of WCW. It wasn't until Goldberg showed up. At that point, I was like, this guy is the greatest thing ever.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was such a fun show, And with Papa Mafia, we got. Do you see Brock Lesnar getting thrown off the building like Giant when he faced Hogan? Yeah, that's definitely something we're going to talk about later. But no, I don't think we're going to get the monster trucks brought back. you know, for it. But you know, back in the day, it was very cool to watch. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, we'll talk about it a little bit later. But yeah, it was it was crazy to see it like live, even though that scene was actually filmed the night before the actual pay-per-view.
Oh, it's
But
funny too. And then like looking back at it, you know, they tried their best to kind of make it look like they was in those trucks, even though they clearly wasn't.
oh yeah, it was crazy. It was, you know, it was so funny, you know. And then they even had the guy who, I believe it was the guy who either created Bigfoot monster truck there as commentary for it. It was crazy. It was it was a very wacky time in wrestling. So,
Right.
but yeah, I like it. I like it. So, and we got in the comment here from CBM. Yes, Dan Spivey. Thank you. Actually, I had said Don Callis. I was thinking of Dan Spivey, but he absolutely had the creepy promos, and that's kind of what I was talking to Sauce about where he was kind of really a precursor to Bray Wyatt. You know, so absolutely, you know, thank you, CBM, which is crazy because that's actually my brother's initials. My brother. Are you actually, is that you, Chris? We'll see. But yeah, thank you for the comments as always. Like I said, we love talking to you guys too. So we love talking to each other, but we also like talking with other people. So we're good to go.
Oh yeah, you know, I love interacting with people when you know you talk about my terrible takes on wrestling. So.
Oh my god. Oh man. But yeah, moving on to like little other bits that kind of happened throughout just before we kind of get into our Halloween Havoc discussion. Looked like right now Rey Mysterio is now moved from SmackDown to Raw, kind of doing it storyline wise, but to me it's kind of funny because back in the day when he was on SmackDown, you know, with thanks to Paul Heyman, it was like the number one show. You know, they were, and with Rey Mysterio was on there, I mean, they were like way hotter than Raw was. So it just kind of funny seeing that kind of full circle now, going back to SmackDown. And if the storyline does break, you know, I know they're eventually going to have him with Dominic at some point, but at least for a little bit, that'll be good, you know, because we can't week after week we can't keep seeing the Ray Dominic. They're gonna fight. He's gonna hit his son. So what's the, you know,
or them constantly, or them having some type of interaction running with Judgment Day. Like it's time to move on.
Yeah, and that's why I'm happy that they're doing the AJ Styles and the Good Brothers versus Judgment Day, because now it's like, okay, Ray's doing this stuff now.
Yep.
You know, Edge is doing this stuff. He's outgone. So something different, you know, spice it up a little bit. But with that move, with another actually genuinely surprised move, Baron Corbin is now moved to Raw with JBL as his like mentor manager. And as Sauce knows, I loved, you know, Bradshaw when he became his JBL character. I mean, it was a perfect move for him because he's so good on the mic, and he's, you know, he's a great tough wrestler. But the fact that I would say he's too good on the mic sometimes, you know, and that's still not a bad thing.
Oh yeah, JBL. I mean, JBL is definitely was the GOAT of SmackDown for that year run that he had.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it worked perfectly too because he just, you know, he beat Eddie Guerrero for the belt, and you know, Eddie Guerrero at that time was the People's Champion.
Yeah.
So you beat him. Now you went from, you know, a heel, you know, that people, you know, some hated, to now it was like they really, really hated. Like the wrestlers, you know, backstage they had nuclear heat. Well, this was like World War VI he had as far as with the fans themselves. So,
oh yes,
but as far as JBL, like the only thing is, did you see the pants he was wearing last night? Like he was wearing hammer pants.
Yeah.
You would think I'm just saying, as a millionaire, you know, whatever whatever he is now. You would think you at least have some type of tailor or some type of decent, you know, somebody, you know, to, you know, get better looking pants.
You would think, but
like, I mean, the only other celebrity I've seen with you know pants that look just as horrible as him is Michael Jordan. If you get a chance, look how Michael Jordan dresses. It's horrible. But anyway, as far as JBL goes, I mean JBL's back on TV. now every week you get to hear what he has to say, his hot takes, and I'm all here for it.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what's in store now. Honestly,
one of my favorite moments with JBL. He was doing it was a fatal 4-way. It was him, Kane. No, it was him, Undertaker, Booker T, and I can't remember who the other person was, but I remember he's got the promo. He told Booker T, he said, "I don't speak hip hop." He looked at Kane. He looked at Undertaker and said, "I don't speak monster."
Oh my gosh, yeah. No, that's great. That's great. And going along with JBL and his amazing promos, yeah, we have another great comment here from CBM where, yeah, absolutely. I was about to actually say it too. His promo at One Night Stand was too good. The heat in Hammerstein Ballroom went out like a balloon. And I'll tell you right now, I remember watching it live, and it was. I mean, he buried the entire new ECW. With that amazing promo, and that's what I mean. It was too good. It was so good, but then it was like, man, and they wanted to kill him, just like the Sauce. I mean, and that's good. That is a good thing. So I'll never forget that promo.
But then, I mean, he definitely he had those promos, but then he got scorched by Paul Heyman when Paul Heyman told him the only reason why he was champion because Triple H didn't want to work Tuesdays.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was pretty good. It was pretty sweet. So, but yeah, thank you for the comment, for sure. We love hearing from you guys. Yeah, so again, little things like that happen in wrestling, and some other news just came up, and it's really funny because me and Sauce kind of talked about this already when it comes to pay-per-views. And literally, news breaks that the day one pay-per-view is no more. They have canceled the day one pay-per-view that they only had one time. And I think it's a great idea. It's a great move because as of right now, from Survivor Series in November, right after Thanksgiving, to all the way to Royal Rumble, there's no shows. There is no TLC. There is no day one. And that's a great thing. Give the wrestlers the time off and near Christmas like they usually do. And that's when you need to just build up everything to Royal Rumble. Possibility of the return of Cody Rhodes at Royal Rumble, or, anything else you want to do. It's a great move because the day one show, I'm still mad because they already had a great name for a New Year's pay-per-view, New Year's Revolution. But alas, they decided day one's a good name, I guess.
I mean, now that they took away day one, I figure, people are going to say that's not very Uzi of Triple H to do.
Not Uzi.
But as far as I think they, if anything, bring back New Year's Revolution. That was as far as with that pay-per-view. Yeah, get away from some of these gimmick pay-per-views. Kind of get back to the way some of the older stuff. Like, granted, Elimination Chamber, I don't have a problem with that because usually with Elimination Chamber, it's usually is at this point it's pretty much more like a I want to say like kind of like a tournament elimination style for like the to fill in those last WrestleMania matches. So
yeah. Oh yeah, and that was fine, because I mean back in the day when New Year's Revolution, it had Elimination Chamber, like before obviously it was that Survivor Series, and then they had a New Year's Revolution. Yeah. But then it was crazy. It was like, what was it, 5 years ago? Or when they did it was still on the network, and there were still pay-per-views, like you still can buy them, but they had the Elimination Chamber where it was only on the network. It was the first time they were doing a pay-per-view or show on the network only. You couldn't just buy the pay-per-view.
Yeah, because I want to say it was 2014 when
I remember because Kevin Owens came in and confronted Cena. That was like the big deal. He beat Cena, and it was like everyone losing their minds. So including myself, But yeah, that was kind of like the precursor to all these shows. Kind of going now with Peacock, the network on Peacock. It's premium live events that are going to be on there. You can still buy them as a pay-per-view, apparently, you know, but
For real?
I believe so. I mean,
Wow.
unless that changed too, but I know at one point you could still buy them, but you know, if that is completely changed, then that is, I don't know.
But as
Yeah.
far as the pay-per-views go, because I heard this rumor that they're bringing back Evolution pay-per-view.
Yes, all the female, all
Yeah.
like woman pay per view. Yeah,
Yeah.
and you know, I'm surprised they didn't have another one. You know, I thought it was a cool idea they had. I really thought, you know, it was cool to have like the battle royal they had for it with a lot of the returning legends and just returning superstars, stuff like that. That was cool. You know, it was, and they easily could do it again. So it really just kind of surprised me that, you know, they would rather have a Great Balls of Fire or instead of having a Evolution, you know, they'd rather have
So
another Over the Limit pay per view or Fast Lane pay per view, and that means nothing, you know.
so right now they have the rumor pay-per-views. It's basically they're looking to have 9 of them.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I mean, you know, I still think, even though I still like the idea, I wish Money in the Bank was like a marquee match at WrestleMania. I understand it being its own pay-per-view now because it's market, the way they market it is basically like almost one, like a big 5. It's basically one of the, and that's fine. But Hell in a Cell, yeah, that's got to go. It's got to go. It's got to go. It's got to go. You know, TLC has to definitely go.
Yeah, because at this point, Hell in a Cell, like to me, it's definitely lost its meaning of what it used to be 20 years ago. To me, now it's just a giant cage match.
Yep. Yeah, oh yeah, because like before, when they announced Hell in a Cell for Bad Blood way back with Shawn Michaels and Undertaker, it was only because that feud got so heated that they had to literally lock them into a cage, you know. So then it was only used in like Undertaker basically came like, hey, it's my thing now, you know, for a while, which was fine because you had very memorable matches, him versus Mankind, of course, you know. Austin doing it, and Triple H been, it's just all these different matches. But now, like you said, every Hell in a Cell has at least 2 matches, probably 3 most of the time.
Yeah.
And unless you get something that's kind of like, does something different. Like I think one of the last ones that I liked a lot was the Usos versus New Day. When Usos they just turned heel relatively recently.
Yeah, that actually happened here. I went to that show.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. I forgot it was here. But that was a good match. Yeah, that was had some creative spots. I remember they had the spot where they had, I think, was it Kofi, and they wedged him into the cage corner with kendo sticks. So they had him like in the corner, put the kendo sticks through the cage, and he was like wedged in there. And I was like, man, that was something different. I was like, so yeah, I'm hoping that Hell in a Cell is just brought into like WrestleMania or another pay-per-view, another show as like the main match. Like, I want our feud so big that Hell in a Cell. And also, please go back to the black or the silver or whatever. The red is just so garish. It's so
yeah, and it sucks too because like with some people's TVs, if they don't fix the color settings on their TV, then it just looks terrible.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. It was. Oh, and don't get me started when the Fiend came out and he had his red lights with the red cage. I mean, it looked like you were playing Virtual Boy or something. Your head's going to explode,
Yeah.
So, oh my gosh! But let's hope. Let's see what happens. We already only got a couple months left of this year, basically, which is crazy to think that. But
and I think what's going to happen is, it's like I said back in August. Now, like once Survivor Series is done, I think then you'll start to see. You're going to start seeing more Triple H's vision of what he wants WWE to be. Because I feel like even now we're still basically like just, finishing up, finishing up the odd, loose ends of McMahon's booking that he had done. So,
yeah, okay, I'm with you on that. Yeah, so with this week in wrestling, there's like a little bit of like the news and stuff, and that's kind of covers a little bit of it. Obviously, a lot of stuff happens, and tonight, as we speak, AEW actually has their Dynamite going on tonight, and there was a big thing about them going against NXT going against them and such. And I just like wrestling, I don't like the war. Sauce was like the same way. We like watch wrestling. We're not like these guys suck. These are great. It's wrestling. I like seeing it.
And also too, because we're almost 40 now. It's not like we're teenagers anymore.
Yeah.
So like now, it goes back to what I said, when we started this, competition just makes everything better.
It does. It really does. But so like the main event, you have Moxley versus Hangman Page for the AEW World Title, and they're really hyping it up. First time they were fought. I mean, there's no way Hangman's winning the belt. If he won the belt tonight, I would be shocked. But
in Cincinnati,
crazier things could happen. You're right. It's in Cincinnati, which is Moxley's hometown. So, so we'll see what happens. But moving on from that, what we do have is the preview for NXT Halloween Havoc. And that is this Saturday, the 22nd. And not going to lie, I am just in love with the fact that 2 years ago, they decided to bring in the name that they already owned, the Halloween Havoc name and logo. Awesome, very underrated logo in wrestling. So we're basically going to do a nice little preview for you on that and kind of go over the history of past Halloween Havocs. But looking at this card, it's a pretty decent card with some at least a couple bangers on here for sure.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, just kind of starting off with what we have here. We have it's kind of funny because Sauce just mentioned them earlier. Apollo Crews versus Grayson Waller in the spin the wheel, make the deal match, which is another great thing that they brought back from the original Halloween Havocs. Great idea. The idea you would spin a wheel and then you would get the stipulation you would have. It's not quite Taboo Tuesday. Oh Lord, that's over another day right there. But they've been really pushing Grayson Waller in NXT with a lot of people from the main card, and it's very interesting to see how he's progressed. And obviously, with them moving Apollo Crews down to NXT, it's not a bad thing. Sometimes it can help reinvigorate a career. So they've kind of built this little feud up. So be interesting to see what happens. They don't have the stipulation yet, not as of today, but we're gonna find out either tonight or at the show. But yeah, it should be good. You have any thoughts on these guys or just in general?
So as far as this goes, I mean, Apollo Crews, he's back down there. They're trying to figure out what to do with him, because they just don't know. But now, he's trying to, he's finding his footing. He's, trying to reestablish himself. Apparently, he lost his African accent and whatnot. And
so you're telling me Commander Aziz is not with him?
No, and I don't know where that spear went. I think this is good for both guys. Obviously, Waller. If I had to put my money on somebody, W. Waller. And once again, guys, listen, I don't know what y'all doing at MGM, but with these bets. But once again, don't take our bets to the bank because we're not responsible for what happened. But with that being said, I think this is good for both guys. Waller, he's obviously he's hot right now, so my money's on him. But also, this gives Apollo Crews something to do, kind of figure out where they want to go with him. So, whatever they make the match out to be, I'm here for it. So, but money is definitely on Waller. So,
absolutely, and CBM, yeah, right here. Another great, looks like, here we go. Another great, thank you for the comments. Do you think the wheel will land on, Coal Miner's Glove again. Apollo Crews was awesome in Dragon Gate as Uhaa Nation. Yeah, WWE spin its wheel regarding this push. I'm not so Sauce. Before we talk about this, I think I'm almost positive this is my brother, Chris.
What's going on? Chris,
if this is my brother.
Hey, Chris, if that's you, blink twice.
Oh, that's funny. I just only know one other person that would bring up the Coal Miner's Glove fiasco match at Halloween Havoc. But yeah, I would. You know what? It has to be on the wheel just for nostalgia purposes. But oh my gosh! But yeah, Apollo Crews obviously when he was Uhaa Nation, and it was a big signing at the time. Extremely great, athletic ability. But yeah, they just kind of, like the best way you put it, spun wheels. Just didn't have anything to do for him, which was really sad. It wasted the opportunity. But hopefully, maybe with new regime, maybe things will turn around. We'll see.
They can kind of rebuild him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's weird. Because like in the original NXT, like, granted, he wasn't like main event status, but like he was definitely like extremely like mid card or like mid card standout. Like I just feel like with Apollo, like there's no reason why he shouldn't have more U.S. titles or can't talk right now, intercontinental titles under his belt. It's like 1 minute he shows up, the next minute you forget he works there. So hopefully, with him going down, NXT, get him back together, and then hopefully, comes back into the roster, and we get a better Cruise. So
there you go. Let's hope. But yeah, kind of moving forward with the preview of this. Now, next we have another gimmick match, but we have for Julius Creed versus Damon Kemp in an ambulance match, which that always can go. It's usually never good. I've watched a few of them. I think Sheamus had one. I remember Mike Awesome had one in WCW during his run. And it just, I don't know. To me, it's just super gimmicky. The idea you have to incapacitate your opponent, throw them in the ambulance, and then close the doors, and then that's it, or they drive. I can't remember, however that works. And it's like, okay, so it's basically like the last man standing match, pretty much, except you just got to get them in the ambulance. I know there's a big feud here with this, but this honestly is kind of like my least anticipated match. So I don't know what your thoughts are, but it'll be good wrestling. It'll be more so a fight because of the feud gone with them, but honestly, it's not really something I'm looking that forward to.
Hey, y'all, and I say, remember the stipulation of the match too. If Julius loses, then Brutus has to leave NXT. So
yes, that is. Thank you. So obviously, you throw those stipulations in there, kind of gets it. There's some stakes involved, but even with that, I'm kind of like, it's
do I really have a dog in this fight? Not really, but I'm down for a good ambulance match. Basically, it's basically just a hardcore last man standing match.
Yeah. And you don't see them that often. And it's interesting because you see a lot of these new gimmick matches in NXT to see if they'll work more as opposed to on the main roster. So, and
that's why we have NXT.
Yep. Absolutely,
and when we're done with this Halloween Havoc card, I have a AEW. I have a, how do I put this? I have an AEW kind of like a roadmap that Tony Khan, if Papa Khan is listening, I'm just trying to give you some gold here. But that'll be I'll get into that after we get done with the card.
Okay, yeah, no problem. All right, so yeah, just going on with this match.
I'll say my money is on Creed. So
me too. Yeah, I think Creed's gonna win. Who come out on top for it? So yeah. All right. So yeah, moving on with that, we have the Weapons Wild match with Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade. So they're already working, interestingly enough, with Roxanne Perez, bringing her up to the main card briefly on SmackDown, and now on tonight's NXT, having Rhea Ripley show up to be in a tag match with against them, and it's like apparently she's really impressed people there, and I mean I like her, but I don't know. I guess they need to kind of show me something else. I'm not saying that like you have to have a completely out wacky or you crazy gimmick, but you have to have something to like make yourself stand out. I mean, look at Rhea Ripley when she first started. She literally was a clone of like Charlotte Flair.
Yep.
Exactly. Long blonde hair, could wrestle really good, but I mean, and then she just slowly changed, and it's like it was perfect. Had to do it. It didn't matter if her wrestling ability was over the top, beyond. If she looked like Charlotte or just like any other blonde, taller diva, then you weren't going to get pushed. So I think that's my problem with like Roxanne Perez right now. So,
well, yeah, I mean, basically, like you said, like why's my mind drawing a blank tonight?
It's like.
With Ripley. I'm sorry, y'all. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's these Weathers originals. Maybe I should. Well, Ripley. I was gonna say, but Rhea. I mean, she went from your mom's favorite wrestler to basically, your favorite wrestler calling her mommy. So.
Oh my god! Yeah.
But as far as this match goes, say my money is definitely on Jade. And me personally, if I'm a booker, especially if to test the waters with especially with Jade to see how she will fare as far as future. Me personally, I will book this. I will make this the opening match for the card.
That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, because at first I thought maybe the ambulance match being first, but it's too kind of out crazy for like a gimmick to be first. But I think the Roxanne Perez, because there's a women's title match, so you don't want them too close together, honestly. Yep. So putting the Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade match first makes sense. I think that's a good idea, especially being like a weapons wild match, which was just a hardcore match with weapons. I don't know. Is it like you know what I'm saying? Monsters ball match, just similar from like TNA. So
no, when I hear the word wild, I just think about Uno. Like they just come out Uno cards and somebody just draw four. Draw four. No, draw four, but you draw four kendo sticks. At that point, you just beat each other. At that point, you just beat each other to a pulp. But yeah,
make it happen. Make it happen.
Yeah. But at this point, I'd definitely say money's on Jade because it seems like they see something in her, and this would be kind of her way, to basically prove herself and show that she's got what it take. Because after this, especially if they get the crowd hot, and especially if the crowd gets behind her, she might, who knows, this could elevate her up to, get a possible title shot against Mandy somewhere in the near future, or whoever is NXT champion.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And we got CBM again here. Usually cage matches are first to last due to time needed to set up the cage. Sauce is right. Weapons wild match should open the show. Yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely correct. So I would say that makes complete sense to do it. So, but
it's very. It's very. I couldn't tell you the last time I watched a pay-per-view where a cage match was the opener. So
no, it doesn't really make sense because unless you're having multiple cage matches, like going back to Hell in a Cell, when there's 3 Hell in a Cell, you might have one open the show, one in the middle, and one at the ends. But it's still, even then, you're like up, go down, up. It's crazy. So, but yeah,
but like I said, it should be a good match, though.
Yeah, I think so.
So, what else you got for us, Doc?
Well, let's see. Whew. You got my most anticipated match, honestly, of the night, and that's going to be that ladder match for the North American Championship. So, obviously, with the North American Championship, Solo Sikoa had won the championship. He did win it, but they had a way of taking the belt away from him because he wasn't supposed to be the guy fighting for it. It was a nice way to get him on the roster, give him a belt, give him a push, then take it away, because he doesn't need the belt because he's on the main roster. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So this has got some good heavy hitters. You got Carmelo Hayes, Oro Mensah, Wesley, Von Wagner, and Nathan Frazier. And I'll tell you right now, I don't know if anybody's checked out NXT, especially with Nathan Frazier and Axiom, and they're basically their tournament that they've had with themselves. These are some good matches with this guy. And even though Carmelo Hayes has some great talent, I don't see him walking out with this champion. I don't see it. So I think I don't see it. No.
You don't see Hayes walking out with the belt?
Nope. My pick is Nathan Frazier. I think that he's gonna win. Yep. I think he earned it by having this, tournament basically with Axiom for the past few weeks, earned his title shot, or earned his, shot in the ladder match. And I think he's gonna make the most of it, because it's hard because, Wesley's great, and I don't know. I haven't seen much of Oro Mensah. But I know Von Wagner's okay. There's some stuff I've seen, but just the stuff I've seen recently, especially with Nathan Frazier, I think he's earned it. And I think it's gonna be a good match, as long as what we've talked about before when it comes to gimmick matches. Well, I mean a ladder match, not really, but you know what I mean, like where you do these extravagant spots. As long as you don't sit there and take forever to set up the spot, and you just you're losing the fans at it, I'm all for it. As long as they're safe doing these moves, it's not something super crazy that they can't, they don't think they can really pull off. But yeah, I hate how long sometimes they set these like bridging moves where they're bridging it and all this other stuff. Ugh. But
usually when you're doing stuff like that, as far as bridging, well, normally stuff like that kind of takes a drag when you have like one-on-one, like one-on-one ladder matches. But I feel like when you have like at least 5, 6, other guys, it's not as bad, because while those guys are setting up, you got other guys, keeping the crowd entertained, doing whatever it is they're doing. So,
yeah, hey, that'll work. But
because it's like with Bailey and Sasha, where they were saying, Bailey was over there setting up the ladder stuff. It was like, okay, at that moment, it started off hot, then you just got to sit there for a minute, like, okay,
yeah,
gonna do it,
yeah.
Versus, with other guys, obviously they'll show them setting it up, but then they'll cut over to other guys doing stuff, so it keeps you entertained.
And that's the best part, especially when you, like you said, have multiple people in the match. You're not just stuck there like, hey, okay, all right. It's like Home Depot, they're moving ladders into putting them into for sale. So, but all I care about is making sure they're safe. They're safe during their moves, because the one thing you don't want is one of them to climb the ladder, and then no one's holding it really, and they go on the top ladder, and they jump off, and they just fall right to the ground. During my semi-professional wrestling career, there was a few matches that I had, and one was a fellow by the name of Frank. And Frank, and one very infamous spot, he went to the top of the ladder, was making a big deal. He was going to jump off. He did, and ladder went, and he went straight to the ground. He was fine. He was fine. And
so he felt basically like a Wild E. Coyote moment.
Pretty much. Pretty much. But we got CBM here again with Wesley will show up and take care of business regarding the North American title. And he absolutely he could. If it comes down to it, it's going to be Wesley, Carmelo Hayes. You might see those guys knuckling up at the top of the ladder. I think Nathan Frazier is going to be in there too. You're going to see a lot of that. You're going to see a lot of electric chairs coming off the top, like either doing some move into that or something like that. But yeah, you're going to see some high flyings. You're going to see some planchas. You're going to see some over the top knocking everyone out. You're going to see a lot of crazy moves here and there. But at the end of the day, I still think Nathan Frazier. I think it's going to happen.
It's interesting. You said Frazier. Others are saying Lee. For some reason, my money is on Hayes going up that ladder, getting the belt that, at the end of hindsight, he basically shouldn't have lost.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's pretty true.
So I would say my money is on Hayes.
Mm-hmm. There we go. And then before we go on to the next match, it looks like from CBM as well. Yeah, Wesley and his experience in multiple man matches and ladder matches in TNA Impact and MLW. Nice bringing up MLW. Almost confirms my theory a little bit more, especially the Impact stuff. But yeah, absolutely. You know, it's Wesley's very, very good. He's very good, and I almost want to see a triple threat match happen in here, or I want to see a fatal 4-way type match happen with a different stipulation. But yeah, we're gonna wait and see on it. But I'm excited. That's gonna be my my match of the night. I think it's gonna be. So you're gonna say Carmelo Hayes?
Oh yeah, my money's on Hayes.
I'm going to be the dark horse. I'm going to go with Nathan Frazier. So we shall see. And CBM is going for Wesley. Moving forward we do have the women's championship match, which Mandy Rose versus Alba Fire, and they've done a really good job building this match up. Literally since the Worlds Collide show ended, like it was like Worlds Collide ended, bam, they've been working on it since then. Right. And I think it's going to be good. I think Mandy Rose we've already talked about her in the past, and how much she has grown as a wrestler and how much she is able to extend her wrestling ability in NXT. And I'm excited to see what happens. I don't know. I'm on the fence on this, on who I want Mandy to win, but I could actually see Alba Fire winning this match. I could. By some kind of I don't want to say a dirty finish, because it's weird, because Mandy Rose is like, they like her, but she's the kind of the heelish character, so it's hard to boo her. Alba Fire, she's kind of like how McIntyre is, like they like McIntyre a lot until someone else they like or hate more. Like Brock Lesnar comes in, they immediately like him, but if he does something heelish, they're like, okay, wait a minute. But McIntyre is like the full face. When McIntyre was in TNA under his real name Drew Galloway, and that's where he got all his better experience before coming back to NXT. He was a good heel. He was a great heel actually there. So I don't know. I could see Alba Fire winning in a dirty kind of way, or dirty-esque, when Tajiri, for example, does the mist in someone's face and then wins. It's not like a heel move. It's just like, it's a surprise way to do it. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on this?
Definitely. I'm treating it like Roman Reigns until I see her get beat. I'm going Mandy Rose.
All right.
And the reason why I say that too, because she's now over 300 days now as champion. Yeah, she is. Yeah. I mean, so and then just to give you a little bit of insight. So she already surpassed Bayley, who's at 223 days. But is she gonna get to Asuka's 522? I highly doubt it. No, she's not getting no. And Asuka didn't even lose the belt. Remember, she got injured and she had to vacate the title. So it's not like so. Thank you. I love chatting with you, CBM, of course. How long is Mandy Rose going to be in developmental? It seems like she was the it girl back in 2015. Has she improved that much? Well, as we kind of were talking about, that was in WWE when she was there, and doing her stuff. She was in there with a bunch of other people that were very similar looking of her, or similar kind of gimmicks, and they did so many different tries. Like, I remember they put her with Dana Brooke there for a hot second. Then they had the gimmick with Otis, which some kind of worked. It just, all those gimmicks weren't really working, and they weren't really showcasing her as a wrestler. So it was almost like it was showcasing, because it got to a point where she was either always like kind of paired with somebody, like either basically she was paired with Sonya Deville, so she was more of a tag team wrestler. Yep. And then, like you said, with Otis, then she went from tag team wrestler to pretty much a valet or whatnot. Yeah, so they didn't know what to do with her. Then you have like Liv Morgan there, and then it's like okay, we know they're two different people. I'm obviously like that, but
for wrestling sakes, you're not differentiating anything there. So I think by when she moved down to NXT, it was a smart move, because at that time most of the women in NXT were gone. Like most of the real hot up and comers, and then they came up to the main roster, flourished there. But yeah, it's I hate saying developmental, but obviously NXT is its purpose, but it's its own brand. It's a developmental brand, so it's both. And
but I will say, to answer CBM's question, I would definitely say she has definitely improved. I mean, you can go back and just watch her last pay-per-view, Worlds Collide. Just like we saw what she was made of, especially the triple threat match. How she held her own, she kept the crowd invested in her the whole time.
And triple threat matches are hard to choreograph. They're hard to really place, and because you got to make it sure everything is done in a certain order, time, and it looks good. It doesn't look like you're barely getting there, or you're I didn't try to knock it. I don't know. He definitely improved, and I think her time in NXT has been great. And I thought for a second there, because they made Toxic Attraction, they made them the women's tag team champions, and I thought the main roster. So I thought, okay, maybe this is maybe they're going to get a call up. Maybe they'll have Damage Control on one brand, and then you'll have Toxic Attraction on the other. Yeah, I thought for sure that was going to happen. Still might happen. I don't know. They might just do something where they're moving. They go to both shows periodically,
and
like if they need. So.
Oh no, I was going to say another hot take. I'm just saying that if WWE would have just picked Mandy Rose instead of Sarah Lee, may she rest in peace.
Rest in peace, Sarah Lee. Yeah.
I'm just saying, if they would have picked Mandy Rose, who was supposed to be the correct choice the first time, the Lions will have at least won the NFC North by now. I cannot prove the science, but it's there. Just trust me.
Don't worry. I do have scientists that can prove it. I do. Okay. I'll get with you a later day, Sauce. But I got that.
appreciate it, Doc.
Got it.
But definitely, I've been saying about Mandy Rose, like she was the it girl then, she's the it girl now. Even when she was lost in the shuffle, she was still the it girl. Yeah. It's just they didn't know what to do. It was kind of like Apollo, Apollo Crews. Like the talent is there, they just don't know what to do or how to deal with it.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. And that really is. So so you're telling me that Emelina was not the it girl? Oh Lord, promos for months and then one appearance, and then she was done.
Speaking of not to get off track. Speaking of appearances, one and done. So remember Veer, the guy.
Veer, I knew you were going to bring up Veer Mahan. Yeah, I knew it.
So
yes,
dude that we've been waiting for waiting for 2 years for it. And he showed up for 5 minutes,
and now he's in NXT. He's in NXT now.
I was looking at So to let y'all know, that you guys know, as we do this podcast, I'm over here going back and forth looking at NXT to see what's going on. So Veer has showed up, and he looks basically like an Indian version of Andrade. Like they lost long brothers. Like they could, it's like looking at them two. It gives me what's that movie, Twins, with DeVito
and Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, they could literally bring Andrade back, and it basically be the same thing right now.
Oh my god.
Oh, and mind y'all, the OC popped up too. OC came down there.
Yep, they were working with AJ and Cameron Grimes, I believe, if I remember correctly. So the former Trevor Lee from Impact and other places. So so Shotzi's there too, huh? Shotzi Blackheart.
Yeah, she's cut a little promo right now.
I love me some Shotzi. She got her tank back, so that's good too.
Yeah. But to get back on track, definitely my money. Until I see her lose, I'm going with Mandy.
All right.
I put it this way: from now until Royal Rumble, my money's on Mandy.
There you go. I'm with you. So that brings us to the main event, and this one it's been decisive for me, but I think I have an answer. We have Braun Breaker versus Ilya Dragunov and JD McDonough, the former Jordan Devlin, who was rebranded last year when he joined when he was NXT 2.0.
Right.
Jordan Devlin's always been I've always liked him. Some of his stuff he's wrestled before. Like he was, they had a great cruiserweight when they rebranded NXT Cruiserweight Championship as the NXT Cruiserweight title.
Yep.
A lot of people didn't really watch them shows, and it's what it is. He had a great run, huge run. And then he had a good feud with Santos Escobar. And after doing this rebranding, kind of made him more of a main eventer. It was a good choice. But this feud, it really serves two purposes, to me, in my opinion. And my choice is that Ilya Dragunov is going to go over and win. But he pins JD McDonough. Obviously, triple threat matches, that's the idea. You don't want your main champion to look bad, so he loses the belt and not being pinned or submitted. Opens up automatic rematch. I wasn't pinned, submitted. I got to fight you. And Dragunov has already proven himself with Walter on at least a couple different occasions and putting on stellar 5-star matches, almost 5-star matches. I just, I think that's the smart move.
Oh, not to cut you off, but they remember he was champ for a minute. He had relinquished the belt too.
He had to relinquish it, yeah. Oh yeah, he was the first to beat Walter after Walter's massive run. So, and I just think it would be good for him to win it because Braun is. I love what's going on with him. His mic works great, and I have to bring it up because it's just the funniest thing because of the real, like I say, real wrestling, but like the wrestling fans that know that he had Steiner math in his promo a couple weeks ago when he talked about had all three of them in the ring, and they said, you guys got a 33% chance to win. And when they started talking, I sat there and I'm like, are you serious? You know that Rick and Scott were watching that going just like, oh my God. Like I would have loved to see their face. Because he probably didn't even tell them. He probably said, I'm just going to do it. Let's see what they say. And it was, so that was a really fun thing to see, but Braun's he's getting way better on the mic. That's a good thing. You're a dominant champion. A lot of times you need a manager. Brock Lesnar had the best with Paul Heyman. I mean, it's the best, but then he ended up getting great on the mic, so he didn't need him anymore at that point. But Braun is so good right now that there's no reason for him to. He doesn't need the belt. I know they want a strong champion, but Ilya Dragunov will be a strong champion for sure. So I think it's going to be a lot of heavyweights kind of throwing their weight around with JD McDonough, of course.
Listen.
Yeah, here we go.
Listen. Those men, we're going to see men slap some sweaty meats around for that gold, okay? For that gold belt, and that's what we want.
So we got Bronson has a 141 2/3% of chance of winning. You know what? He probably does. Hold on. We gotta have Petey Williams in the back just doing some arm reps and Shaka Khan just sitting there trying not to laugh the entire time. But one of these days, because I do some acting. I've done some shows, some local theater. Sauce has watched me in couple shows and everything, but every time you do a show you have to do like an audition, and a lot of times you audition for a play or something, you'll have a monologue. And I honestly, one time I'm going to get the monologue of him doing that whole promo, and I'm going to do that for a monologue. I am because I'm not going to tell him any context of what it's for, because most of the time they're usually not wrestling fans, and I'm just gonna, and I'll say, look, I deserve this role. Where'd you get that from? That was Scott Steiner, What can I say? But going back to the match, though, it's going to be a lot of weight thrown around, some good power moves. It's going to be a good time. So
Doc, who's your money on?
I think I'm going to go with Ilya Dragunov. I think Dragunov's going to win. Set up for a feud one-on-one with Braun Breaker. And then that's going to be the highlight one. This is going to be good. But that if they do it that way, he gets the automatic rematch. You're going to see a hands down knockout match right there between those two. So I'm going with Dragunov. That's Doc's pick.
My heart says Dragunov, but until I see it, I'm sticking with Braun.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Looks like we got another thing from CBM. Thank you again for chatting with us. Yep. Wink, wink. Just they're waiting for the right time to call Braun up to the main roster, and the question is, when do you think he's going to Raw or SmackDown? So, I think he could. It depends on if he's still champion by the Royal Rumble. I could see him entering the Rumble, possibly. Obviously, he wouldn't win it, but it would be a huge thing if he was in it and eliminated two or three people, looked good, stayed in it for like 14 minutes or something, and then, maybe someone knocks him out that then starts a feud. He could show up. I don't know. It's hard to tell, He'll be on Raw. I believe he'll be on Raw because if Gunther stays on SmackDown, Braun, I think, would be on Raw.
I think I could definitely see Braun going to Raw, just and then there's star power going over there. But actually, I think I can actually see Braun showing up Survivor Series as like that last mystery entrant.
Yeah, because they haven't. That's going to be interesting to see what they do because obviously they're doing War Games. This was a Triple H move. That War Games is actually going to be on the Survivor Series, which has been, Sauce knows this, and all my friends know that I have such disdain for Survivor Series, except for when they had NXT come up, and that was one of the best. And you had Keith Lee, you had Walter, and then Walter chopping the hell out of everyone, and Keith Lee was the last guy with Roman Reigns, and they looked good. So it was the last time. And then years before, never liked it,
Well, I've always argued that when it comes to Survivor Series, I always like Survivor Series because it's one of those pay-per-views where it gives mid-cards time to shine. Yeah. This is one of my main reasons why I've always been a fan of it.
And that makes sense too, You're not going to get a champion versus champion, obviously, because with Roman Reigns having both belts, you're not going to.
Maybe he fights himself like Tyler Durden.
Here, acknowledge me. No, acknowledge. Yes.
Yeah, because he won't even. Well, because he's going to defend it November 5th. So.
Yeah, Crown Jewel. Yeah, but. Yeah, he's going to defend it. He's going to have it in this match and with Logan Paul, but that's not going to be a real match. I'm nothing against I don't hate on Logan Paul. I just Logan Paul's not winning the title. They'll have a couple close call type things where you're going to see him maybe have a chance, but he won't have a chance. It's a no. Yeah, Lions winning 2 consecutive Super Bowls is what happened before that happened. So, but we'll see.
But I would definitely, say as far as Braun, Braun's definitely. I think he's going to be winning this match, and I see for some reason I think Rumble is too far away for him. I definitely see his call up coming Survivor Series. He's going to be I said they're going to need that. They're going to be looking for that last mystery person that's going to be on the team, and he's just going to pop up.
Yeah. Yes. So Logan Paul is not the next David Arquette. Kind of funny because we had our Celebrity Squared Circle episode a few weeks ago talking about celebrities and sports singers, stuff like that in wrestling, and we definitely talked about both of these guys. So no, David Arquette back in the Ready to Rumble days of WCW, compared to Logan Paul, no, that's that's sewer water, and then that's like Patron. We're not talking about we're talking about two completely different things here. And Logan Paul actually looks in his 2 matches he's actually had. He looked great. He actually looked like if he was not a celebrity, he wasn't a YouTuber, anything. And some wrestler wrestled exactly the same match. We would sit here going, man, this guy's up and comer. This guy's got some good moves. You know, he looks good, big guy, tall guy. But because he's an influencer, immediately gets that hate. Like, oh, he didn't deserve this spot. It's like, it looks like he did. Looks like he's been training, and he's not treating the wrestling like a joke. He's not, you know, but
no, he's not treating, you know, it's not, he's just not there for appearance to promote something else.
Ironically, though, about David Arquette, you know, years later, he decided he wanted to wrestle. So he actually, you know, got in shape, trained a little bit, and wrestled a lot of independent stuff. So, you know, I just thought that was kind of funny, you know, from the glorious Ready to Rumble movie, you know, glorious, such good. Which, by the way, all wrestling fans should see it for the sheer cheese factor. But for wrestlers, obviously, there's a bunch of WCW wrestlers in it. But actually, John Cena made an appearance in that movie as just a weightlifting guy, and you could see him in a scene with Jimmy King, and you could see him doing pumping the iron. John Cena was actually in it, and so 2 years before he debuted on SmackDown. So it's pretty crazy. He has the little the blonde hair, like his prototype gimmick. So that's where I was like, John Cena. But yeah, Logan Paul, no, he'll be entertaining, have those like entertaining kind of matches here and there, and that's fine. Yeah. Publicity is good publicity, you know. I don't have a problem with it. But right there, that is our preview for NXT Halloween Havoc. Pretty good show. I'm excited.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. But I will say, Doc, before we get to the classic stuff, I was going to say one thing I like about, I'll tell people, say what you want about WWE, but you know, because it's NXT, it's their developmental, and this is where they basically, you know, hone the craft as far as their style of wrestling, which is what definitely, you know, AEW could learn a thing or two from. But I was thinking, you know, since they acquired Ring of Honor, you know, I was thinking to myself, like, why not, you know, Ring of Honor could kind of be like their NXT. You know, have guys come in, you know, hone their craft, get themselves together, and even guys that, you know, going straight to AEW Dark because they have nothing to do or they're just trash. Mm-hmm. You know, you can sit and basically have them go through Ring of Honor and you know, have them work there. And I think it'll be a win-win because that way it'll help develop your style of wrestling, which basically kind of how you want to do things. And then brings in more shows, so it's a win-win for us as a fans to go. And it's a win for Tony because, you know, just generates more revenue for this video game that I don't know if ever is going to come out. And but I think it was just cool because I was like, even like with when they did ECW, when they acquired ECW. Granted, it wasn't the same. Obviously, it definitely wasn't the same ECW that we were used to. But they, you know, it was NXT before it was NXT. So that was just a thought I had in my head. You know,
well, it's interesting. It's very interesting you're saying that because some news came out where Tony Khan was interviewed about Ring of Honor, and he actually did say that he plans on having a pay-per-view in December for Ring of Honor, and then starting in 23, he wants to have weekly show. Now, it was not a confirmation of the show, but that pay-per-view in December, he basically confirmed that. Now, whether it's Death Before Dishonor or, you know, December to Dismember, but whatever they want to call it. But that's a great idea. It really needs to happen, especially with Ring of Honor, because they can't just keep doing these, like, the belts on the show. Are you defending it here? We need its own, like, entity and make it happen.
Because it's going to get to the point where, because you're going to, I mean, if you're going to keep the rights to ROH, I mean, you have all these belts on there.
Yep.
It's going to get to the point where it's just like almost every episode of Dynamite Rampage is going to be like Clash of Champions, and then I think it's going to take, you know, this is going to start taking away from the other guys who don't have belts, who need TV time, who need to.
That's a good point, because you don't need a championship to be good enough to be on the show. You know, you can have all-star matches without having being a champion.
Yeah,
and then,
well,
like you said, you're going to see Clash of the Champions.
Yeah, and then you can have a main, because it's going to get to the point where it's going to feel like you're going to start seeing just main events involving belts.
Yeah, exactly. But let's see. We got CBN. We got a couple here. I have to say this one because now my thoughts are I guarantee that we're on the same page here. The celebrity episode. Did we bring in Jenna Maraska from TNA? And I knew, yeah. And no, I did not bring up her because when I was doing the research for it, I saw it and I didn't want my tongue to explode by speaking of that dumpster fire. That was that match in TNA. Sauce, you should watch it once. It'd be like the Pocky Chip Challenge that we did. It was that bad. It was that bad. Oh wow. My God. I can't even, you know what? Yep, it's gotta go. That's gotta go away. But oh my gosh, it's funny. But before we go on, it looks like we do have another thing here. Hey, they're questioning the same thing. The video game that FTR is not in. Yeah, they wonder the same reasoning too.
Well, you know, that's why luckily we have creative character mode. So
exactly, which we both have the 2K22 game, which is pretty good. Not a sponsor, but all the fan creations. There are some very good ones that people have taken a lot of time up to create. So yeah, definitely love me some wrestling, and that'll be a future episode for wrestling video games. So
yeah.
But yeah, moving forward though, with kind of all the stuff you were talking about here, I kind of wanted to talk about, because again, I grew up, watching a lot of wrestling, but a lot of WCW, ECW, and everything like that. And WCW, one of my favorite pay-per-views that I used to watch with my brother, and was Halloween Havoc. Had a great logo, it was always a fun show. And I just wanted to go over a little bit, kind of like its history, little tidbits here and there from each show. It actually started in 1989 when WCW was actually still part of NWA. So, NWA, and then you had like the WCW World Championship Wrestling kind of part of it. And the main event of the first one in 89 was Ric Flair and Sting versus the Great Muta and Terry Funk with Bruno Sammartino as the guest referee. I mean, to me, just thinking about that's crazy. 1989, but it's very interesting because with this list, you're going to see a very interesting pattern that Sting was pretty much on every single card except for like two of them. So there's a lot, at that point, that was pretty much like the big highlight I had seen from there. Then in 90, the last time NWA was with WCW, you had Sting versus Sid Vicious and that's defending for the NWA championship. And Stan Hansen, who rest in peace, my grandmother, that was like one of her favorite wrestlers, versus Lex Luger for the NWA. I'm sorry, the U.S. championship, which Luger was a prestigious champion of that title. That was one of his like biggest runs ever, was being that champion. So that was kind of like, like the highlights of it. At that point, though, 91, WCW is its own entity, no longer associated with the NWA. And, Sting with the Steiners versus, and this is ridiculous to think this, Abdullah Butcher, and then the Diamond Stud, Cactus Jack, and Vader. So just imagine that. Like that's a match. Sauce, you're talking about heavy hitters throwing their meat around. I'm just saying, Oh
yeah, Vader was definitely slapping sweaty meats around. Yeah.
At that time too, they started really dialing it in for the Halloween aspect. We got a Chamber of Horrors match, So they, it precedes the House of Horrors match they would do years later. So
right.
But one thing I thought was very interesting on the undercard of that show is that there was a wrestler named Big Josh. The real name was Matt Bourne. And what I thought was very interesting was He is the original Doink the Clown. Matt Bourne was the original Doink the Clown, and he wrestled in this undercard as Big Josh. So I was like, that's very interesting. So you had to go from this generic character to then being one of the creepiest clown characters who could actually wrestle. So.
And made it to the only made it to the I wouldn't even say last, but one of the most memorable WWF arcade games at the time, which is WrestleMania.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, for sure. And one other thing too, I noticed going through some of the random stuff that happened at these pay-per-views and shows is that you had, like, at that specific one in '91, you had the WCW Phantom, because, you know, again, they were really dialing in the whole Halloween aspect, and the Phantom, it was Rick Rude. It was literally just Rick Rude for no reason, you know, and it was crazy. But other stuff like Stone Cold Steve Austin against Dustin Rhodes from TV title, time limit draw, a lot of times that happened. But keep that in mind, Austin versus Dustin Rhodes. So then it kind of goes, you know, at that point, Vader was WCW champion, fought Luger. You know, at that point, you're talking about around the time when he had his memorable fights against Sting and Ron Simmons, and around that time. But in '92 was the introduction of the spin the wheel, make the deal gimmick, which became kind of like a Halloween Havoc kind of staple for a little bit, and now they've brought it back for NXT. Again, Sting fighting Jake Roberts, and as CBM had mentioned before, and again, only one other person I know would ever bring this up, had the coal miner's glove match. Oh my God. I mean, that's all you got to say. Like, this, but yeah, again, memorable for the wrong reasons, right? But believe it or not, that's absolutely not the most cringeworthy worst on this list. We will get there very shortly. Don't you worry. Then you have like Barry Windham and Dustin Rhodes versus, guess who? Stone Cold Steve Austin and Steve Williams, and for the NWA Tag Team Championship. Well, NWA and WCW Tag Team Championship. Again, it's like, so you're already talking about 3 years here with Austin and Rhodes having another match. Like, these feuds would just kind of keep going for a while. It gets crazier though, you know. But before we go into that, we do, it looks like CBM has here, we got Kevin Nash's Oz. Yep. Yeah. You know, what about Vinny Vegas? Come on. You know, you got part of this, you know,
Vinny Vegas. Too. I forgot all about that.
Come on, Vinny Vegas. Yes. It gets there. It gets there though. But oh, how green. I think he was as green as our little box here. It was very green. Oh gosh. It's gonna get there. But you know, at this point though, this is still a fun pay-per-view. It's a fun kind of like not as serious, more, you know, could have some fun with it being Halloween time. The promos were always great. They were always like dark and brooding, but funny, you know, kind of like Scooby-Doo-esque type, you know, like peril and stuff. But now in '93, you get into some interesting facts I always thought. So, but oh, wait, it looks like we have another thing from CBM here. It looks like in that tag match with Dr. Death Steve Williams, Steve Austin was a late sub for Terry Gordy. Yes, that actually is true from what I read. And I mean, it's still funny though that you have a Steve Williams and a Steve Williams, Steve Austin's name before he legally changed it. But then he also is fighting Dustin Rhodes. So I thought they're like, well, you know what? Who would work good in this match? Austin, Steve, get in there. It's gonna be Steve Williams and Steve Williams. Let's go. So it makes sense, but excuse me. But in '93, I thought this was the craziest thing here. So you have Rick Rude defeated Ric Flair for the WCW International World Heavyweight title. So yes, Rick Rude was world champion, but not technically. So in a sense, what basically happened, because you don't have the NWA banner anymore, WCW, when they were having like international shows or anything like that, they made up their own subsidiary, their own kind of like minor league group that wasn't Rick Real, but they gave it the championship, which was the big gold, the big, you know, the big gold belt as its championship title. WCW still had their regular world title, then you had that belt. So the idea is you had Rick Rude as a world champion, technically, but not really. Very weird time. Only was there for a year and a half, 2 years. And then they just merged it with WCW and made that the championship. It's known as kind of like the Ric Flair championship. Ric Flair was the first and the last international champion. So, and then this thing again, another match, Vader versus Cactus Jack, and again, slapping some big meat around, apparently. But, it's still pretty fun at this time. But now we get into a couple that we hold, me personally holds dear to my heart, and I know Sauce as well. Okay. And you have the 94, which was the first one at Joe Louis Arena, because we're here from the Metro Detroit area. And yeah, anytime the wrestling came to Joe Louis, it was great. Yep, there you go, right there. Mm-hmm. But, in that match in 94, you had Hogan versus Ric Flair with Mr. T coming back as a special guest referee, which that's pretty cool. Seeing him again, seeing Hogan again after a few years, hadn't seen him, from the first WrestleMania, and I know he did other stuff here and there, but it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool seeing that.
Because that was the retirement match for Flair, right?
Yes, because at that point, Flair, yeah. Oh, excuse me. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. So, it was a good show, but it's definitely not nearly at all as memorable to the 95 one. But before we get into that, CBM, it's, yeah. You're just, my scientists have already kind of proven this already. My theories are correct, but
that's why you're a doctor.
I am, but should the big goal be considered an international object? Yeah. So what's very funny around this time, during this time, a little earlier in WCW, Sauce, they did not like calling foreign objects. So they referred to them as international objects. And you can actually see this on the old shows on the network from the 90s, early 90s and such. It's hilarious hearing like Tony Schiavone or Jim Ross say this and be dead serious. But yes, I would say if they grabbed the belt and hit him with an international object, especially if it was the fake international championship.
Right.
But that's a deep cut there, CBM, man, wrestling fans. But now I have to talk definitely more about this. I know we all will. 1995, Halloween Havoc, Joe Louis Arena. Probably one of our most memorable ones. And arguably one of the most memorable of all the Halloween Havocs. And, this had a lot. This had a whole bunch of stuff going for it, You had Sting and Ric Flair defeated Brian Pillman and Arn Anderson. Like that on paper is crazy. So, and then of course everyone remembers the sumo truck. I definitely remember watching it with my dad, my brother, and we had the sumo truck monster battle on top of Cobo Arena. And as a kid, watching that was like, that was cool. And then, seeing Giant get knocked off the roof of Cobo, of course, I'm freaking out. I freak out for real. Like, I can't believe it. What's up? Then he comes back later in the pay-per-view, and how did he come back? My dad to this day remembers it and still razzes me about it, like, because I was so dead. Like, is he at the hospital? It's like local. We go see him at the hospital. It was fun though.
We could go to Sinai Grace right now.
Yeah, it was pretty much out. Yeah, it was great. It was a great time.
He might be at Harper Hospital. That's right down the street.
Well, that's pretty much how I acted, and it was fun though, And but they actually filmed that the night before at Cobo, and then they just aired it then. But it still was, talk about gimmick matches. We talk about weird gimmick matches, and that's something that was just Monster Trucks. So it's still popular, but it was like massively popular then. It was just crazy to think that, like, holy crap, like this is Halloween Havoc's kind of like a unique pay-per-view, but okay. It was pretty cool. And You know, it kind of moves forward from there with it. And one match that I thought on the undercard, which was crazy to think about, was you had just Sabu, ECW legend, you know, throw his body around, just break his bones, still wrestle, versus Mr. JL, which of course we all know is Jerry Lynn.
Yep.
And this randomly being on the undercard, and as someone as loves ECW, I mean, this is a crazy match to think about. Because this is 95, and these guys are basically going to go over to ECW and wreak havoc there. Yeah, Halloween Havoc there.
Yeah, because I read that I guess he got released from ECW for a minute, so he came over to WCW. And after that was over, he basically went right back to ECW.
Oh yeah, and then had some great memorable feuds with Rob Van Dam and whatnot. But
and then also with Sting and Flair. So apparently they like I said, it'd be Arn Anderson and Pillman. Then there was a swerve where apparently y'all ganged up on Sting, and then the Horsemen returned.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was, you know, it was a whole thing because you know how Sting and Ric Flair. That's, you know, they're gonna keep doing that battle forever. You know, Ric Flair is just like, hey, come on, man, one more time. Sting's like, no, stop calling me. We had our last match at the last Nitro. That's done. We saw each other in TNA for a hot second. We're done. I'm not wrestling anymore. I'm not really wrestling you. Oh gosh, but man, I did forget though the biggest, most crazy, exciting thing that happened at this show: the Yeti showing up.
I sat there and watched.
Hold on.
Today.
Oh wait. Oh God. Oh my God.
But no, they I sat there and watched that today on YouTube. I was like, and all I could think about was that zombie dude, the zombie that came out on
ECW
that Sandman beat to death.
Yeah, because remember, Sci-Fi Channel means we have to have sci-fi characters. God damn. Hey, sci-fi. We have to have a vampire. We have to. Excuse me. But CBM, we have yes, and Sheik threw a fireball at JL at the end of the match. That was a one-way ticket back to Philadelphia. Yep, absolutely. You got that right. Like he's like, I'm not dealing with this anymore. I'm fat. Yep. And then of course, Horace Schiavone says, the Yatai. Yeah, because it made no sense, right? He's a mummy. Like apparently the storyline was that he was frozen in ice, and then he unfroze or something like that. But then he's a mummy. But then they called him the Yeti, like Yatai. It made no sense. And then what's crazy about it is the guy who played him as a wrestler. He actually was Reese in Raven's Flock. You know, when he was Yeti, he wore huge lifts in his shoes to get him taller. He had to be taller than Giant. Because apparently he's around the same height. He's a little bit shorter, so they had to make sure he was. So he put massive, lifts in his shoes. So he barely could move, anyways. But I remember watching that after this pay-per-view. That was entertaining. And it was fun. And then he comes out and does a bear hug, and it was like, what? What's going on? But I'm glad after that he had a very good, long, fulfilling career. Nah. He wrestled 3 or 4 more times than he was doing. Next time he wrestled, he put him under a mask and called him the Super Giant Ninja. Now I'll tell you right now, Super Giant Ninja.
You mean Omos?
Yeah, pretty much. When we all thought that was Shaquille O'Neal when he debuted.
I still, I'm telling you right now, I still think that was Shaquille O'Neal underneath that mask.
You know what?
You can't tell me different.
In my semi-professional wrestling days back in the old MCWA, we had a couple guys, the Black Ninjas. Now they were good. Now Super Giant Ninja, not so good, but the Black Ninjas, they were good.
then as far as knows, apparently Lex Luger wrestled twice at that 95 Halloween Havoc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah, he was doing. I mean, because at that time he was doing a lot. He was wrestling he was getting a lot of work. So. But still, again, Sting, another Halloween Havoc, another one. Then after all that, and then we move on to 96. this would be the first year with NWO. You know, the NWO hadn't fully taken over like the pay-per-views yet, but it was like the beginning of it. And you have Hogan versus Randy Savage, you know, from title. Savage, you know, this is when he came in there, and it's like, I don't know. It is what it is. Like, outsiders, you know, are there. Harlem Heat. Okay. What is the best match of that show is hands down Dean Malenko versus Rey Mysterio. Hands down. One of the best matches. Now, I would tell anybody to watch that match over any of the other matches on that show. But it also was the first time Sting was not at Halloween Havoc in '96. So yeah, crazy though, you know, thinking about it. But
we also forgot one big thing from '96.
Oh, what's that?
Let's say Piper debuted in WCW.
Well, Piper had his match before that. He had the coal miners. He had the coal miners glove match.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah. He wrestled that coal miners glove match in '92. So, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. Wow, brain fart. Oh, Jake Roberts, not Piper. Yeah. So you're absolutely right. I don't know why, you know, sometimes they're like they have to delete some things in here and then the rest go out. Yep. Delete. But then, so it was Roddy Piper, that was his debut. Yeah.
And then with the Outsiders, like you mentioned, I'm just piggybacking off of what you were saying about the Outsiders. But that was there because they had just won a tag team title not too long ago. So that was actually their first successful defense when they went against Harlem Heat.
Yeah, and that's right before they decided to get the new tag team belts because those tag team titles at the time were so small. They had made new ones.
Especially around
gosh, they looked like little toy belts, and then they resized them up and got them bigger. But yeah, I remember they just looked like little toys on Nash and Hall. So, but so moving forward, you have '97, and this one's another very memorable pay-per-view for one reason only, and that is Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero, a 5-star or more than 5-star match. Mask versus title. Everyone should watch this match. Everybody should watch it.
It's on YouTube.
Yep. You know, if you can't get it, if you can't watch a network on Peacock or whatnot, just watch it on YouTube. Watch it anywhere. But it's just the storytelling already. Eddie Guerrero is one of the best heel work ever. Versus, you know, Rey Mysterio. It's like watching, I don't know, like a very beautiful choreographed ballet or dance or, you know, whatnot, and then watching that, it was great. And to this day I will rewatch that. And what's crazy is the new wrestling 2K22 is they really hyped it all around Rey Mysterio, and they have a lot of these matches from Rey Mysterio's past, and you know, and going through, and you kind of play as them through as like as you were in the match, and that's absolutely one of them. It's kind of cool because what they'll do is you'll do the match, and then they'll tell you to like do a certain setup for a move, and when you do it, it will jump to the actual video of the match for like a couple of those moves. And it was pretty cool. I like seeing that, you know, how much work they did celebrating Rey Mysterio's career. So, but CBM, we got some more. Yep, some say Eddie was supposed to go over at Halloween Havoc, but Eddie let Rey win, so he wouldn't lose the mask. I 100% believe that, you know, because this is before we have Nash and Creative Control forcing them to lose the mask and whatnot a couple years later. But it's like he didn't need to lose the mask. Hell, during the fight, he's ripping the mask up almost apart anyways. You know, he's tearing it apart, doing all this stuff, and it worked. It worked better with him not winning, in my opinion. You know, and what's funny, another thing too, is it's always been a running joke. I know with a few of my wrestling friends, I know Sauce knows, my brother, we know that if Rey Mysterio dresses up as a superhero or something, he typically loses. However, he was clearly the Phantom in that WrestleMania at that Halloween Havoc. So there you go. You know, but most of his other shows, he did lose. He did lose if he was dressed as a superhero.
And then I don't know, let's say any more highlights, anything to go over for 97?
97, you had Hogan versus Piper, which was another random one where it was like he had a sleeper hold. He like beats him with a sleeper hold, and it was such a bizarre like thing to see. And if I remember correctly, too, a fan got in the ring and they beat the crap out of him at that one. I believe that's the show that it's happened. And I'm sorry if you're a fan and you're trying to get in the ring with wrestlers, right? You got a death wish to let alone climb the cage to then get in the cage so you can't get out, run away with the wrestlers. I mean, what? Obviously, someone wanted to just get their ass kicked. I don't know. That's just my opinion about that, but. Oh, that's funny. Also on the undercard, you have Jericho versus Ghetto, which I thought was kind of interesting, seeing that on the card. That's the best part of some of these shows, seeing some of these random undercards of, really good matches or really unique matches you wouldn't see that much. So, oh my gosh. But let's see what we have here. Hip CBM, how many times do you remember Roddy Piper having ever been pinned? I mean, not many, right? Sauce? I mean, I don't. That's something I'd have to look up, but I don't really remember it.
I think the last time he was pinned was when he and Flair lost the Raw Tag Team belts. Like
yeah, but I think they're really talking about more of his heyday, not when.
Oh yeah, obviously. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying. Yeah. When they gave the belts that hot second there, and but yeah, I mean, he was dominant. Again, one of the best heels in the business, Roddy Piper, one of the best heels. Great work. All right, so we had some good memorable times so far. We had some fun matches. Now all that's going to go down the tubes, down the tubes. We're going down into the depths of the sewers, down into the garbage. No, I'm sorry. This is what garbage eats. Okay? This is what garbage eats. Halloween Havoc 1998. Oh, CBM's already there. That's what we're talking about. Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about. See, this is the problem. Sometimes we want to talk about these things, but guess what? We're here to talk about it. And yes, we're absolutely talking about 98 Hogan versus Warrior 2. And yes, the pay-per-view going off the air during DDP Goldberg. So, let's talk about DDP Goldberg first, just because that is the only thing that was good about this show. And yes, so the show itself went over, it was 3.5 hours long. It ran very late. And the main event was DDP Goldberg. Arguably, still, Goldberg, no, you know what? It's not. It's actually Goldberg's best match he ever wrestled. Ever. And I'm talking about WWE and WWE. Best match. You had DDP.
I remember that opener, though? Like, when he came out, all those officers got him to the ring. Like, that opening was like that. His entrance was crazy huge. During at that pay-per-view.
Oh, it was great. He always had great entrances. That was never in doubt. But that match with DDP, it was something. It was just so interesting to see. You have DDP, who was people's champion in a sense, but he was before he had his massive push by with Russo and everything and such. But you believed that he was going to win this belt. But he forced Goldberg to actually have a wrestling match with him. He forced him, and it worked. But as CBM was saying, we're going to talk about, because the show ran over 3.5 hours, most cable providers cut the feed, and majority of people missed the last part of that match. Yeah, it's insane. So they basically they showed the match on the next night on Nitro, but I mean, that's too late. Like, come on, like, really? So, but still, great match. Definitely watch it if you have a chance to find online, or just watch it on the network or whatnot. So, that being said, Sting came back, and he was back at Halloween Havoc against Bret Hart. All right, now we want to talk about the garbage. Oh, yeah. So Hogan versus Warrior 2, build on paper, yes, massive, rematch for the century, rematch from WrestleMania. 6 or whatnot. It's great. No, it literally is one of the worst matches I've ever seen. And I've seen, Conan Lex Luger match, and that's horrific, but still had some redeeming qualities. There was nothing good about this match from start to finish. And to top it off, as CBM's already mentioned right now, Hogan should have asked Sheik how to throw a fireball. You know what? For no reason. Why did 90s wrestling was throwing fire? Why was that such a huge thing?
Indiana Jones.
I guess so. I don't, he messed up the flash paper and it singed his hair. Oh my gosh. It was so bad. It was like a cancer it just infected the rest of the wrestling for it. It was just, and when it comes to like reporters and people that do like Dave Meltzer, he's very famous for doing his wrestling reportings and his ratings. It's the only match that he has given a negative 5-star for. It's the lowest rating he ever gave a WCW match. That's saying something, but it really just put a nasty taste in the mouth, and it just was. And I don't even know. I don't know what to say about it. Goldberg was great with DDP, but the rest was garbage.
Well, you also had to remember, Steiner versus Steiner. They started off with tag team partners, and then they started wrestling each other.
Yeah, and that was another and again, that works for that kind of weird kind of match to put in a show like Halloween Havoc. So that was okay too. I'm not saying the whole pay-per-view is bad. I'm just saying Hogan Warrior just really bogged that thing down. So
what about that? Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, you go ahead. Nope.
Oh no, I'll say what about the Nash versus Hall when Hall won via Nash walking out?
Yeah, we're gonna get to the point where let's just do another match for the contract for Scott Hall, and even though Scott Hall was never coming back to wrestle, I don't know. So after all this, you think that wrestling, especially with Halloween Havoc and WCW, it's gonna get better. No, no, it doesn't really get much better than this, because at this point in 1999. You have the age of Russo. Vince Russo. Sorry, it got cold in here and I shivers down my spine. So yes, the 1999 Halloween Havoc is terrible. It's a terrible show, and it had such bonkers, because Vince Russo at that time just liked to just throw everything at the wall and see if it stuck. Like random things would happen every time, Sting of Hogan. Hogan comes out, refuses to even wrestle, lays down for Sting. It's like, what the heck, And it's like, okay, fine. I'm with you on it. I'm okay. Then later, CBM, of course, that's exactly what we're basically talking about is, willingness to lose the title, the powers that be. Same thing happened with Jeff Jarrett at Bash on the Beach. Yeah, strange. Not so strange, obviously, when it's Hogan's involved. He didn't want to lose the Sting. And that's annoying. It's not like it's up and coming star. It's Legend Sting versus Legend Hogan.
Yeah.
So, oh gosh. But what's crazy too is, you have then like Goldberg and Sid. So then you have Goldberg fight Sting in the main event. Now here's where it's again the Vince Russo logic is that you have this match happen, right? You have you have Goldberg versus Sting billed as a non-title match. Then Goldberg wins. They refer to him as new champion. And then I know they made a storyline of it. The next day, Sting went on Nitro. J.J. Dillon came out. Basically, it was like, hey, blah, blah, blah. And then they, vacated the title, did a new tournament because that was always the thing to do, and went from there. But CBM's he's got the good ones here too. Some other great highlights, yes, DDP's really random promo. Let's whack it, let's jack it all night. long.
Gotta love the 90s.
I mean, it's oh my gosh. Yeah, it's again, you're talking about 99 WCW, and it gets crazy, you know. At that point, too, you had all the promos before for the re-emergence of Alex Wright, Das Wunderkid turning into Berlin. And I remember watching those promos. It was pretty cool. It's like, he's, you know, it's Alex Wright. He comes in and then they immediately bury him. He loses to Brad Armstrong. Brad, you know, at this point though, you know, he had the Wall as his bodyguard, who would go on to wrestle as Malice and TNA. But then they just pushed him. They're like, Berlin, you're going to wrestle. We're going to have the Wall wrestle. Oh my gosh, it was just such a Russo. It was like I don't know. It was just like, here's a puzzle, throw it on the ground, make a picture out of it. You know, but then I'll take like 3 or 4 other puzzles and put the pieces there, and then there you go, make one picture out of it.
And then apparently Goldberg wrestled earlier that night and won a U.S. title.
Yes, he fought Sid earlier and got that. So it was like, what is going on right now? You know.
And then I was looking at the Brett. I forgot who he wrestled, but he just the key moment of that was Brett walking out. And he looked like he did not want to be there.
I mean, at that point, you know, and it would only get worse for Bret Hart from here on out. How about that? Yeah. You know, it would only get worse. Oh my gosh. But yeah, so, you know, 99, I'd say, well, you know, Russo, it's pretty bad. Again, it can't get worse.
Until
it does get worse. 2000. And pretty much WCW 2000, as someone that watched all that in 2000. I mean, it was like being like a really bad bender, you know, for like a year and just never recovering, like ever. It was just, you know, let me put it this way. This is the last Halloween Havoc of WCW. The main event was Goldberg versus Croddick. That's your main event. That's your main event. What are you talking about? Like,
which is crazy. That's your main event, but your Booker T is your champion, and he fights. I say, but that's not the headliner.
Nope. No, it's not, is it? So, you know, take that as you will. And Sting wrestled Jeff Jarrett on there, just to kind of go over the fact that Sting was part of every one of the Halloween Havocs except for 2. But yeah, 2000 went was all in for the natural born thrillers. You know, whether it was generic Drac and Sean O'Hare, you know, and Mike Sanders, above average Mike Sanders, Reno, you know, and I'm not saying all these guys, like, they're not all terrible. It was such the most bland, stable ever, you know, and. So, oh yes, CBM. So and as Pamela Paulshock said, ambulance match. DDP says, I don't think so, bimbo. What does Joe Rogan think about DDP cutting his wife like that? Oh my gosh. Yeah. DDP, he had some glorious promos. I just remember that. He was a shining light. He really was during those times. You know, he didn't care at all about, you know, who he would insult or anything. But yeah, when it comes to hot garbage, and it was like 98 started it with Hogan Warrior, then Russo comes in, and it just gets worse, and then just worse, and then it just fell off. And like you said, why is the main event not Booker T and Steiner? It's insane. Yeah. They were building this great feud, doing these matches. And no, Goldberg has to be a main event. Goldberg
against Chronic.
Against.
And then I noticed, like, I was looking at the highlights and, you know, watching some of these matches. It was like starting in 1998. It's like every match somebody was interfering.
Yes, it was like, either some teams would come and interfere. It would always be like a no contest or, you know, or dirty win. You never had like a clean win, and it was getting so annoying at that point. Like, what Yeah, I was. Yeah, that's how the Russo way, you know, make it shocking, make it like
Jerry
whatever.
Springer.
And because Jerry Springer was extremely popular at that time, so having some weird storylines like that made. I mean, I get it. I guess it makes sense, but you know, Russo's claim to fame is like, oh yeah, I created DX. Da, 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 da. I'm like, yeah, that was like 6 years ago. What are you talking about? So, oh my gosh. And another classic time. Yeah, Mike Awesome was punched by a fan when he went into the crowd during his match with Vampiro, by the way, because that's Mike Awesome took it out on Vampiro. I mean, yeah, Mike Awesome, rest in peace. You know, he I always loved him. I loved him in ECW. Then he left, unceremoniously to WCW. Almost had the belt with him from ECW, another time the ECW champion bringing a belt. But basically was going to get sued if he showed up with the belt.
Yep.
And I thought, cool, we're going to push him. Oh yeah, the awesome bomb off the top rope. Hell yeah, it was. And his stuff when he wrestled over in Japan, what was it, FMW, and saw some crazy matches there. He was the gladiator over in Japan. So, and yeah, you thought he was going to be great. Awesome. Mike Awesome's here in WCW. And then I'm the fat chick thriller.
Hey, let's go.
Gosh, it's almost as bad as Eric Bischoff's weird fetish for big biker women. Not like good looking bigger biker women, not so good women. So it's like the same thing, right? And then they finally made him into like the Canadian killer destroyer character, but it was too late at that point. It is what it is. But yeah. So 2000, the whole year, so bad. And on a future episode, we're definitely going to talk about the that little bit of time from 99, 2000, and then into 2001 for the acquisition of WCW. That will be on a future episode for sure. Because that's you're gonna have to get some more drinks for that one. Or for that one, I'll tell you that for sure. But so that's for WCW. That's pretty much a lot of the highlights here and there. And there's a lot more obviously that happened, but that's stuff I wanted to kind of go over with you guys. But I did want to also just bring up the last 2 years where NXT brought it back, because there were some good matches here in the new NXT version in 2020, 20 years after the abomination that was 2000.
As if Vince Russo buried it.
They bring back the spin the wheel gimmick, that was a great touch to do that. And you have, Gargano defeating Damian Priest for the North American title. Gargano, obviously great worker, Priest winning that was good, because, they had just brought him in relatively recently from his Punishment Martinez gimmick. And it was working good. It was not working good when he first was on the main roster. I think it's better now. The Judgment Day, I think he works better now. He's better on the mic. I didn't like him as a face. Don't think it really works for him, for his character. But we'll see. We'll see if he can grow a little bit from there.
Let Vince Russo tell it. Yeah, I was the one that told him to change his name, bro.
Yeah, bro. Hey. Oh my gosh. If I see another article from that that states wrestling, veteran says blah 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 about whatever, and every single article that says this, it's Vince Russo just talking. And I'm sitting here reading it, going, "Is the wrestling veteran Vince Russo? Are you just clickbaiting this? It's not someone different. Oh, it's Russo again. Oh, okay. Is Russo just hot taking on anything? Okay. Is he just trolling again? Yeah, he is. I'm sorry.
Is he just existing?
Yep. So here it is right here. Another comment, because I knew I could get when I was talking about Eric Bischoff. We should review Sold Out 97 and the Miss NWO contest. So, Sauce, this is exactly what I was talking about with Eric Bischoff. So, Sold Out was the NWO show where everything kind of black and white filter, was NWO running it. And yes, there was in this NWO contest, and these are the big, burly biker women. And again, we're not talking about like good-looking women, like they're like just that traditional hard-edged biker woman, and the Bischoff. It's all about it. So it was, yeah. We'll do a review of that. Again, we'll need some alcohol. We'll need some, definitely get some alcoholic Mountain Dews or something else, some Triple Jam for sauce over here. But but going back to the NXT show, Io Shirai versus Candice LeRae in a TL tables, ladders, and scares match. Going into the Halloween theme. And that was good. It was a good match. It was when they brought Io into NXT, and it worked good for her. Candice LeRae, I was never fully ever really behind, and I know she's back on Raw now because of Gargano too. But she's always been kind of like, she's been fine, but not something I'm like, yeah, all for your character. To me, it's like a watered down Alexa Bliss a little bit, but that's just me. But yeah, so NXT 2020, it was nice seeing it back when it comes to Halloween Havoc. But then they have that last year's Halloween Havoc in 21, where you have Mandy Rose beat Raquel Gonzalez at that time. And they've now changed the name to Rodriguez for whatever reason. And that was for the NXT title, and then now she's held it ever since then. She's had the belt since that she beat her for it. So, they bring back the trick or treat, the spin the wheel trick or treat street fight. And I like it. Like going back to way back before where they were talking about doing the fun Halloween theme stuff. Or I'm fine with that. I think it adds a nice touch to it. So, Ciampa defeating Braun Breaker. And to me, that's a good match. That was a good match right there. Breaker just debuting. They still pushed him too fast, I believe. When it comes to Braun Breaker, but yeah,
well, they needed a face for the 2.0.
They did, yeah, because they knew everyone was leaving. Gargano was leaving. Ciampa was going to be leaving. Like it made sense. It did make sense. So, but and then you have Imperium, who was doing most stuff over in NXT UK, obviously, fighting against Nash and Carter. And so that was or Nash Carter and Wes Lee, I should say. Yeah. And that was a good match because give me anything with Imperium, whether it's the tag team himself or with Gunther, I'm fine with it. I'm a big fan. Not so much of them changing names randomly. It's like why? Why do you have to change their names? Like because Vince, it's like, look, oh gosh, we could say all day long. Like, let's have a list of everybody that had their names changed for no reason. I'd be like this. Oh God. Oh God. Oh God. Oh, I mean, Jericho reading out the list, coming back from break and still reading off. Oh my gosh. But hey, Halloween Havoc, fun show, good legacy. Obviously you have other shows like your WrestleManias, your Starrcades, the Royal Rumble. Of course, World War III.
Oh yeah.
Oh gosh, that I went to the last World War III show. Yep, I went to the last one. So still fun, still kind of a fun gimmick. Not gonna lie, with the triple rings. I would actually love to see that. I would love to see that happen. But yeah, I highly doubt that though. And then Brock Lesnar just comes in with the forklift and just knocks him and pulls him, knocks him out of the way.
Pretty much.
But no,
he comes in the forklift one, and then he grabs Omos and then just like slams him through one and breaks it, and then these slams Strowman and breaks the third one.
Yep. How cool. Oh yeah. But yeah, Halloween Havoc though, like I said, it's always been a fun show for me to watch personally, and going from there, it's pretty good, Oh, excuse me. Looks like we do before we go on here. Oh, we got CBM here with where's the button? There it is. Joe Gacy I was like, what is CZW's DJ Hyde doing on my screen? I could feel the broken light tubes through the screen. Yeah, tell me about it. Yeah, there was a rumor I'd heard, might not be true because when we were talking about Bray Wyatt earlier, that Joe Gacy might be part of his group. They might bring him up to be part of his group. But that's complete speculation. You know, we're going to be talking about this until it happens. Something happens. But oh yeah, bring us CZW. Oh boy, that's going to be another great episode talking about the we can go have our extreme episode again. Our extreme episode where you have like XPW, CZW. You can even throw JCW with Juggalo Championship Wrestling and
Jesus.
Oh yeah, all these hardcore death matches and oh lord, oh gosh, and then yes, that's gonna be a fun episode. I think that'll be a good one. But with that being all said, we have one thing we do still have to cover, and that, my friends, is our heat of the week.
Let's go.
So we got a lot of stuff here, a lot of things, moving pieces, moving parts. So, Sauce, who you got for heat of the week?
Definitely Seth Rollins. Once again, new U.S. champion. Building on his Hall of Fame career.
Yeah, great choice. And as we've mentioned before, absolutely deserves it. Absolutely deserves it.
Oh yeah. So now, him being champion, build a resume that gives, it gives an even bigger reason why, as far as for the Matt Riddle rubber match.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Seth Rollins he's been killing it since COVID started, and the man ain't slowing down no time soon.
Yeah. Nope. I agree with that for sure. For sure. For me, I've been bouncing around a little bit because a lot of things kind of been happening here and there in wrestling. But I'm going with something just a little bit outside of it, and I'm happy because this looks like it's finally coming to fruition, and I'm going with my man AJ Styles. I've loved AJ Styles since he was doing his Air Raid tag team the last year of WCW with Air Paris, and he was Air Styles, and then going to TNA Impact, watching these weekly pay-per-views, $10 a pop. Huh? What's up?
They had the pay-per-views then. Eventually, they was on FS1.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yep. And just me and my brother and a few other people, we'd watch these shows and just seeing some of the best wrestling I've ever seen. Whether it was Christopher Daniels, with him, with AJ Styles. I was in Ron the Truth Killings, where he was just seeing him, and then so many others there. And it was just something crazy to see that. And then how much he grew leaving to go to New Japan. Like TNA didn't want to pay him anymore. Didn't want to pay him the money he deserved. So he's like, bye, I'm going to New Japan. And best decision of his career was going to New Japan. And obviously becoming the leader of the Bullet Club, gaining great advice from friends and, everything like that, going to, Ring of Honor, well, just wrestling just a little bit there and whatnot. But it's then, of course, as he comes to WWE, is great. So now they're finally pushing forward with this feud with him and Finn Balor. And they officially did announce that on the Crown Jewel pay-per-view is going to be Judgment Day versus AJ Styles and the Good Brothers. So I'm excited to see it. Because finally we're going to get like another match that's not Rey Mysterio versus or Edge, And that singles match is just going to be right around the corner. With AJ and Prince.
That's gonna be
Finn Balor.
And that's definitely gonna be a show stealer when that happens.
Yes,
match of the night.
Yes. Oh yeah. I can't wait. It's like I'm future calling match of the night. It's like, but it hasn't been called yet. I'm gonna future calling it. So, but yeah. So that's that's pretty much what we got for this week. Halloween Havoc's gonna be a good show. It's gonna be me and Sauce here. We're gonna watch it, and then we're gonna give you a good, breakdown of it next week. And we probably have some more fun stuff to talk about, since that'll be right before Halloween. And we're going to have a treat for you there because of what, Halloween, love doing my costumes every year, but we definitely got a wrestling themed one. So stay tuned for that. So, but did you have anything else that I didn't know if because you were watching NXT or any news about anything else, breaking news that we didn't know?
I'll be honest with you. They was talking about there was a Vail who's going to host Halloween Havoc, and I'm pretty sure I completely missed it. And yeah, so great journalism on my behalf. But other than that, I just kept looking up, seeing people returning. Oh, what the cool thing that happened at the end of NXT is Dragunov. We held up the belt. They did their little KO show, little squabble one night. He's left in the ring holding the title, and all of a sudden, Austin Theory comes out with the briefcase.
Oh, well,
yeah,
isn't that something?
It was funny because in one moment you said, someone, they're, getting their butt kicked. As soon as you said that, Austin Theory popped out. I was going to say something, but you was, you was on a roll, so I didn't want to interrupt.
Oh, absolutely, that's fine.
But for the most part, but other than that, no, Halloween Havoc's coming up, and definitely looking forward to it. It seems like with NXT, even with this 2.0, they got their base roster. Everybody's kind of finding their way, their groove, and all this. So, shout out to Shawn Michaels. Say he's doing this thing over there. So,
yeah. So, just because the AEW show kind of just happened, I wanted to kind of pop something on here. But apparently, during the main event, there was an injury. So there was a bad injury, supposedly, from what I read. So it looks like during the match with Moxley versus Hangman Page, it looks like Hangman Page took a lariat from Moxley, and he was on the ground. Camera cut away, and then they only heard Taz talking about alluding to an issue in the ring. Wouldn't even show him. And then it cut away. Then Moxley tried calling out MJF to fight. But apparently with videos, because, everyone's got social media and videos.
And cell phones.
They showed him he was put onto a stretcher in the ring and then taken out of the ring.
So it sounded like, hey, man, probably got a concussion.
I don't know, but it sounds, because it's.
I mean, if you get hit by a lariat and you don't get back up.
Well, that's the reason why a lot of times that's why they're saying it's definitely a real thing, because it's not like he took it, got knocked out, and that's part of the storyline. They wouldn't even show it, and then we only know it happened because the people have the videotapes. Similar to like WWE when Big E took that nasty, overhead suplex. If you watched it live, SmackDown, you saw it, but you didn't see anything afterwards when they quickly finished the match and he was loaded onto a stretcher. That was all. But
I imagine, like, if he got hit with a lariat, and mind you, it's a hand attacking move, then he probably went down. It was probably a free accident moment, kind of like Enzo Amore when he tried to go through the ropes and he banged his head off the ring.
We watched that one live with the vaudevillains. Yeah, he hit that rope right, bang, and then it was like early in the match too, and then he was just out cold. He was just like a rag doll.
So I imagine there might have been something similar happened where he hit the lariat, his head probably bounced off the mat, and he was just, at that point his brain was in Jupiter somewhere. So
yeah, absolutely. But other than that, I think getting closer to Halloween, my favorite holiday, honestly. But and we had a good show, and I'm hoping that you guys liked some of this information that we all kind of bestowed on you guys. And thank you for CBM for chit chatting with us too. Definitely give us some insight on some of the goings on during the 90s WCW. And always a good time. So with that kind of being said, though, if you don't got anything else, Sauce, I think we're going to sign off for tonight. But thank you again for everyone, watching and everything. And catch us next week as we're going to go, like I said, the results for Halloween Havoc and obviously lots more. But I'm Dr. Love, Sauce Bronson, and have a good night, guys.
Hey, once again, y'all have a good night and be safe and be good.